All right, whenever you're ready.
Rape, murder, kidnapping. These are three horrible words that none of us really want to encounter. But for the children in Uganda, it's an everyday worry and battle. For most of you, you've probably seen the Facebook video or even heard about the Invisible Children movement. But if you've never heard about it, this is a breakdown. Coney is the leader of the LRA and is #1 on the Interpol list and should be caught for raping, murdering, and killing children. It wasn't until in 2011 that anyone took any interest in this because of that movement. However, with the new election year approaching, there are a few people that want to stick their necks out as it can risk their opportunity to be elected as the new official. It is my belief that Joseph Kony needs to be caught before the U.S. military pulls out of Uganda. Their presence can be easily justified with a few easy claims. One being, the U.S. military is one of the only armies that has the technology and experience to help track down and capture Kony. Since the presence of the 100 troops that have been sent over, $33 million has also been sent over to help navigate through the thick jungle. The U.S. military has the most advanced technology around, such as the high-speed mobile broadband communication that can easily be used in the jungle, the light compact equipment that enables them to travel through these jungles, and a worldwide surveillance that most people do not have. The second is that without the help of the U.S. Army, the children will have no hope. Obama believes that leaving the troops in Uganda longer than needed is an unnecessary risk, and he believes that they should be taken out in the end of 2012. Since the presence of the U.S. military, rebel attacks and kidnappings have decreased due to the pressure on Kony, which means more children are able to sleep at night and not worry about being murdered, kidnapped, or raped. The United States also believes that there is no financial gain or policy gain in helping Uganda any longer than needed. However, Kony's army needs to be stopped. Otherwise, it will grow stronger and become bigger than anyone has expected, which means that they can invade other countries other than where they are now. By pulling out early, this will also show that the U.S. is sending out a message saying that killings and rapes are okay, and that it is only the business of the country that they are being held in. With these, it shows that the U.S. military should stay in Uganda until Joseph Kony is caught, as they are the only ones that have the technology, money, and experience in capturing criminals, just like in Afghanistan. Therefore, it is my belief that Joseph Kony should be caught and the U.S. military should stay in Uganda.
Yes, that would be wonderful. Thank you. No love for our speakers, definitely. All right, Alexis, I think that you had a nice dramatic opening with the attention device, and you finally get to the propositional statement. I do think you want to signpost and make that propositional statement stand out. The other night when I said let's have an explicit statement of it, you ought to highlight it and say, so the proposition is, or the major claim that I'm going to make is, I was listening for it and I knew what it was because I've seen your outline, so I could pick it out, but I'm not sure that everybody will be in the same advantageous position, so you want to make sure that they know what's going on. It sounds like you're going to create a preview of the supporting points, but basically as you start the preview, you just get to the first point and then you dive right into that point. So there's no layout of what the structure is going to be. We don't get that roadmap of events coming up, and you want to have that. The controversy on the subject, I think, is pretty clear, except for the part at the end where you explain that there is, in fact, some pressure from Obama to get out. I think you want to point out that Obama is driven to get out of there regardless of whether or not Coney is found, regardless of whether or not the Lord's army is defeated or any of those kinds of things. He's just in essence saying, we've got to have a time limit for our involvement here. I think you need to cite that and explain that a little bit more at the beginning of the speech, and that will make it clearer why there's a controversy on this subject. Internally, you did signpost the first point, like I said. You also did the second point pretty well. The third point, I think you presented it, but there's no numerical signpost on it, and like I was mentioning before, I think it would be easy to miss. Now, the evidence, I think, is problematic because there's no citation of the sources for any of this information, and the information is very generic in nature. You talk about the technical expertise or the equipment that's required. Well, who says that the U.S. has this equipment? Who says that the U.S. is the only place that they can get this equipment from? Is there an expert who says that we're not going to be able to get Coney or find him if we don't have U.S. resources? I didn't hear any authority citing this. I didn't get a particular example on this, and I don't even know that it's more likely that Coney's going to be captured if the U.S. stays. We've given $33 million. We've got 100 people there searching for him now. Unlike Unlike bin Laden. I hate to confuse those two. Unlike bin Laden, Coney supposedly has a whole army with him, so how hard is it for people to find him? I'm not sure why this is an issue that's going on here, and I think you need to give us a little bit more detail on that. The same sort of thing with the other 2 points. I think you need, you've got kind of conclusionary statements here, but not much evidence being cited. You do a pretty good job at the end summarizing the argument, but it's not that hard because the argument is only about half the time that you had allocated, and what's really missing here is proof that U.S. involvement is required. That's the claim that you ultimately are making, and so we have to know why U.S. involvement is required, and you need to be able to prove that, and I just didn't hear any data that supported that. I heard the arguments, the claims, but I didn't hear the proof for those particular points, and that's kind of the weakness of the argument here. All right, thank you for starting us